The Dallas Mavericks fought hard but fall to the Sacramento Kings for their second straight road loss. We'll break it all down coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show.
Next on DLLS Mavs.
Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella and our national NBA insider, Mark Stein. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys cover your favorite team every single game night, no matter who plays or who doesn't for your Dallas Mavericks. Unfortunately, the shorthanded Mavericks fall on the road tonight to the Sacramento Kings, 110-100, despite Spencer Dinwiddie scoring 30 points, PJ Washington with a season-high 28 points in the loss. But the Sacramento Kings simply dominated the Dallas Mavericks, especially in the second half. Mavericks scored 60 points in the first half, but just 40 in the second half to fall by 10 on the road. We appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports. We'll break it all down here for you over the course of the next hour. Coming up in our next segment, Tim Cato, our Mavericks beat writer, will be joining us to provide us his perspective and thoughts on tonight's game. Bobby Carella, where the Mavericks, we knew coming into this game, no Derek Lively, no Najee Marshall, no Kyrie Irving, no lukadoncic. The list goes on and on and on who wasn't available. Yes, the Mavericks fall by 10, but competed tonight, which I thought was a good sign based off of what they didn't have available to them tonight.
Yeah, on the pregame show, I said, all I want is for no one to get hurt. Anything better than that is just a gigantic cherry on top. At least I believe nobody got hurt tonight, so that's a huge success.
Sure.
But you know what happened?
What did?
They got off to a 18, 19 point lead. That's the problem.
Yeah, they did.
That is what based on my unscientific formula, that is fueling a good 60 to 70% of tonight's angst. That they played so well early and took such a big lead that it gave Mavs fandom hope that they could actually steal a win, missing 5 key players.
So many guys. I don't really think they got off to a good start. They hit a bunch of shots. They did. They started
PJ Washington got off to
three.
a hell of a start in the first
7
quarter.
for 8 on threes to start.
7 of their first 8. Yeah. And then PJ missed one but got fouled and went to the free throw line and I think he made all 3 on that one. So they got off to a great start. But I mean, we went over the injury list was longer than the active list. There was so anyway, I'm not upset. I'm not upset by anything. I'm not surprised by anything. I guess the one thing that I'm surprised
really not upset.
No. The one thing I'm surprised by is the Kings are really bad. I'm sounding the alarm. Wee woo. There are plenty of Mavs issues to talk about, and we'll get into some of those things that are alarming also from the Mavs perspective. But my God, it took all 48 minutes of the game for the Kings to secure the win against probably the worst collection of players the Mavs will roll out for the next decade.
Yeah, this is a game where I was not impressed by Sacramento whatsoever. I know that De'Aaron Fox had 33. They had 5 guys in double figures, but the Mavericks were a shell of themselves tonight on the floor, and they remained fairly competitive throughout the course of this game. Now, the Kings used what was a eventual 25-3 run over the last 4.5 minutes of the third quarter into the early portion of the fourth quarter to take control of the game. But as we mentioned, PJ Washington came out firing in that first quarter, really helping set a tone for the Mavericks offensively. And I thought in a lot of ways outplayed the Kings, especially in the first half. The Mavericks led by as many as 18 in this game, but at the same time, as the game went on, turnovers became a problem. Daniel Gafford was a problem throughout the course of the game in terms of the lack of rebounding. In fact, the Mavericks were out-rebounded 58-36 in this game, including 18-2 on the offensive glass. At one point, the Kings got 5 offensive rebounds on a possession that led to a Sabonis basket. So there are a lot of issues that the Mavericks couldn't solve based on not just the personnel they didn't have, but at times just a lack of execution that led to Sacramento being taken advantage to get some extra possessions and ultimately some second chance points. But I thought the overall competitive spirit of the team was there, and I think that's something Jason Kidd will probably speak to during his post-game comments, is that the guys that were out there competed their tails off. They just did not have enough requisite bodies to be able to get it done against a fully healthy Sacramento Kings team tonight.
Just the way this road trip is unfolding, it's happening in excruciating fashion. That's the thing, is because the game in Phoenix should have been so uplifting to go in there and win immediately without Luka, but then the suspensions happen, and then, as soon as you heard today that Kyrie wasn't going to play in this game, it just made what happened in Portland all the more painful. That Kyrie Irving goes for 46 in the PDX, and they couldn't find a way to win, because that was the game. Like, you would have liked to have seen them find a way to claw that one out, and then you could live with tonight, because we knew Kyrie was going to need a rest at some point. I mean, he's doing way too much. We
bemoaned the fact that he even played in the Blazers game. On the pregame, we were like, why not skip that one and play tonight?
Yeah. And so to get 46 from him, lose in Portland. I mean, today I checked with someone in the traveling party this afternoon, probably 5 our time, somewhere in there. And it was like, 3 starters out tonight. And then you hear, wait a minute, now Clay's out. So even at that point, I don't think the Mavs were anticipating being without 4 starters. So just again, the way this game mapped out to get off to such a promising start, and you're like, oh my God, the Kings are in such a bad state. The Mavs are going to find a way to win this, and just rolled up the big early lead, and it just gradually frittered. I mean, they lost all of it in the second quarter, briefly seized control back, got to halftime with 4-point cushion, and then they still had a 9-point lead in the third quarter when it really unraveled. So just last couple games have been painful in the extreme.
The Mavericks tonight actually had a season-high 13 blocks in this game, and it felt like at times, that Mark just mentioned, the Sacramento Kings were able to take a lead. The Mavericks were able to regain control of the game, but at the same time, as the game went on, the offensive execution for the Mavericks at times really became lacking, especially the amount of turnovers. And yes, Spencer Dinwiddie had the 30 points, but to the point of the way that the game was flowing, it felt like a lot of go get it by himself, trying to create things that weren't necessarily there. Some bad decision making in terms of some shot selection. At times, it felt like the offense was very hard to come by, especially in the second half. And Bobby, I don't know if it was necessarily what the Kings were doing defensively against Dallas, except or more so the lack of offensive execution based on who the Mavericks had personnel-wise on the floor that made it difficult for them in the second half.
Yeah, it's hard to execute too much. I mean, I don't want to get all existential with it, but Jaden Hardy just can't break anyone down off the dribble. It's been pretty disappointing. Now, granted, he missed a lot of time, so there's clearly some rust. And
sure.
He did hit a couple jumpers, but
this Gafford stuff in the chat is just a little too much, isn't it? I mean, look.
I guess it depends on the perspective you want to take on how poorly the team rebounded tonight in some ways.
Okay, but it's is he, today he obviously had to be a larger focal point than he ever is with all the guys missing. I mean, Is this the game we want to judge him on? I think he's had a pretty good season since moving to the bench and taking on the role where he is probably best. He is great. We talk. How often do we talk about how well he does against, as the second unit center? That's an ideal role for him. I mean, tonight, it would have been wonderful if he went for 30 and 15 and led the shorthanded Mavs to a victory, but just because it didn't happen.
I think it's so, the other night he goes up against Ayton, and Ayton had 21 and 16. Man, Ayton was really good. Tonight, Sabonis, only 17 points and only 16 rebounds, so I actually hit my sleeper play. Thank you.
Good. Oh, wow.
Thank you for not getting another point or another rebound. But Gafford was on the floor that possession where the Kings had 5 shots, and Sabonis had 3 rebounds on that one possession. Gafford was getting beat for rebounds all over the place, and I think it is the expectation that he's able to make an impact on a kind of a possession-to-possession basis. But seeing him get beat down pretty bad the last couple games, and then for the season, the team's defensive rebound rate is 68.5% whenever he's on the floor. That was coming into tonight. It's going to go down, which is the lowest on the team. The team's defensive rebound rate is 71.5% whenever he's off the floor, which is the highest on the team of any player. So it's just like, okay, I mean, you know, you want more. You just want more. And
and I get it.
I have a soft spot
wanting more is natural, fine, but it's like
I will say I don't think he's a starter. I don't think that he's a starter on a playoff team. And I don't think that right now, if the Mavs were to go on a playoff run, he would not be able to be in the rotation whenever they played a good team. He's just not at that level right now. But when literally every player that you've ever heard of is out, I'm not going to hold this game against him. This game didn't teach me anything about Gafford that I already didn't think about. So, like, I get the frustration. Everyone is mad. You want to aim your rage at somebody. And, you know, if it's not going to be Yusuf Nurkic, then it's going to be the next big man you can think of. So, I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
I mean, and I guess for me, you know, if we're going to keep it a buck, I mean, this is not a game the Mavericks were supposed to win. I mean, the amount of starters that they had out and the guys that were available to play, they weren't supposed to win this game. I think some of the frustration comes from the fact that the Mavericks actually gave themselves a chance to win this game. And if there had been some better execution on both ends of the floor, you might have been able to steal one against Sacramento. And to not get that, I think is disappointing for some fans. But yeah, to Bobby's point, I didn't necessarily learn anything more or less about the guys that were on the floor based off of what they did or didn't do. It was kind of disappointing given some of the guys that have been in situations like this, that the decisions that were made, whether it be shot creation, whether it be trying to find guys in terms of passing, like it just wasn't necessarily there in terms of offensive flow. And
yeah, because like, you know, we're watching for extended minutes of this game in the second half. It's Goatman and Brandon Williams and Jaden Hardy trying to create. So like every single offensive possession is like a calculus problem that you're trying to solve. And it's like, it's just everything is hard. And so whenever everything is hard, you're going to try and look at the best players to bail you out. PJ had a horrible second half, but he was incredible in the first half.
Yes.
Dinwiddie scored 30. All right. You know, I mean, it's like, but it's just they had no shot creation at all in this game. And so that's going to cost you.
I wonder what they're talking about on SCTO right now.
Oh, my God. Again, sounding the alarms. Wee woo, wee woo. That is a bad team.
You have an unauthorized Stein drop that you sneaked into the beginning of the show, Tanner, but you don't have an alarm that you could hit?
He's got a bell.
Yeah.
He's got.
I know that wee woo is awful. That wee woo is the worst thing we've heard or seen all night. We need a real alarm.
You'll hear it again, probably.
Oh, God.
Let us know how you're feeling in the chat. I want to see some of the comments from the chat as well as far as how you're feeling about this game. I see in there super chat Ardell. He's got some comments. Like a lot of folks feeling like this was a game that had the opportunity to win if you're the Mavericks, just based off of the way that they were playing, especially in the first half. Some of the other numbers from this game to take a look at. I mean, both teams shot the ball extremely poorly. I mean, the Mavericks shot 42% from the field. Kings were exactly 42%, going 42 of 100. Kings went 10 of 32 from the three-point line. That's 31%. Mavericks went 12 of 31 from the three-point line at 38%. Mavericks actually took 29 free throws, went 24 of 29 from the free throw line tonight, while the Kings went 16 of 19. There are two numbers that'll stand out if you were thinking the Mavericks definitely could have won this game given some of the things that were happening. We mentioned one of them. The number is 22. The Kings were a plus 22 in the rebounding margin, and the other one is 15. The Kings were a plus 15 in second chance points, outscoring the Mavericks 17-2 in the second chance points category.
Two offensive rebounds in this game.
Yeah, they had two offensive rebounds.
We always say, like, if your offense is the strength of your team, which lately it has been, maximize your chances to score. Conversely, if you know the offense is going to be the weak point of your team and your shot creation is the weak point, maximize your chances to score. Like, you have to get second chances, but, you know, that was not going to happen.
No, it was not going to happen.
Two offensive rebounds tonight. The Kings had 40 defensive rebounds. That rebound rate is like, what is that? God, that's like 5%. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's really bad.
It's really bad.
That's probably the worst in the NBA all season. Not to like rub dirt on the wound. Right 4.8%.
There you go. That just gives you an idea of what some of those numbers
I
are
don't
looking
know
like
if I've ever seen one that bad. I'm going to find out.
from tonight's game.
Do some research.
Let's take our first break here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show. Coming up next, we'll bring in our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, for him to provide us his thoughts and perspective on tonight's game. Plus, a little bit later on in the show, we'll dial up the Stein line as we dive into the best of 2024 for your Dallas Mavericks. All that and more coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show.
The first noted Dallas Cowboys running back, Rico Dowdle, y'all know him. He just eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark. He's
sure did.
Undrafted running back that ran
First
for
one to do
1,000
it.
yards. The first one ever?
First undrafted Dallas Cowboy running back to rush for 1,000 yards.
running back. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. Hey, Rico, in 2020, he played in the East-West Shrine Bowl. And the East-West Shrine Bowl is coming back. It's being held right here in Texas on January 30th. And you can be part of a history in the making and maybe see the next 1,000-yard rusher. In making the 100th East-West Shrine Bowl, it's going to be at AT&T Stadium. Since 1925, the game has benefited Shriners Children's, and its mission is to provide the innovative pediatric specialty care, say that 5 times fast, to improve and transform the lives of children. You can see some of the nation's top college football players play in this head-to-head competition ahead of the NFL Draft. The East-West Shrine Bowl has served as the starting point for many noteworthy NFL careers, including 80 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and more than 200 members of the College Football Hall of Fame. Tickets start at just $20. Visit shrinebowl.com to buy your tickets today.
And you can get those tickets by using Game Time. Game Time is the ticketing app that allows you to go to any of your favorite sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, wherever you want to go to. You want to use Game Time in order to do it. I'm headed to WrestleMania in April in 2025, April 19th and 20th for a 2-night extravaganza at Allegiant Stadium. And I used Game Time to purchase my tickets, all in price. I knew exactly what I was going to pay before I checked out. Plus, I got panoramic seat view, so I knew exactly where I was going to sit before I purchased my tickets. So if you want to take the guesswork out of buying your tickets, you got to use Game Time to do it. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Remember, terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time for your last-minute tickets for the lowest price guarantee. What time is it?
Game time! I was gearing up for that. I thought you were going to join me.
I thought something was wrong with you. I was like, what's going on?
No, I was trying to take a deep breath.
Oh,
Is
Tanner's like,
Is wrestling your favorite sport? I kind of think it is.
I'm a massive pro wrestling fan. I am. Football is my favorite sport. Basketball, but pro wrestling is right up there.
What about chess?
I used to play chess a lot when I was a kid growing up. I kind of just stopped playing as I got older for some reason. I wish I kept playing.
Man.
My dad bought me a chessboard one year for a Christmas gift.
Oh, yeah?
Actually. Yeah, really.
Dude, that's awesome.
And I loved playing. I used to have like a glass one as well.
You can see Bobby is trying to will a DLLS staff chat.
I would be down for all chess tournament.
I'd be trying to will that into existence.
Honestly, yeah. Hell, Victor Wembanyama went to Central Park and was out there playing.
Oh my God, Wemby. He could have been a Mav. Oh my God.
I thought that was pretty dope though. Wemby was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be
insane." That's honestly one of the craziest things. Like,
that
he actually tweeted, "Hey, who's meeting me in Central Park?
Go play some chess."
And then he actually shows up.
He actually showed up. It was out there. It was raining. It was cold out there.
What kind of security detail did he have to bring with him for that?
I don't know, but I mean, I thought that was pretty dope. I feel like more athletes should have those kind of personable moments like that. Like, you just went to Central Park, was playing chess. I thought it was pretty cool. Let's bring in someone else who's pretty cool. Our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato.
Hi, Tim.
You can find him on X at Tim_Cato. As the Mavericks unfortunately fall to the Sacramento Kings 110-100, their second straight road loss. In fact, they've only lost back-to-back games for the first time in 6 weeks. Actually, it's been a while since the Mavericks have lost back-to-back games. But Tim, tonight was going to be an uphill climb already as it was with the amount of guys missing. But a lot of good effort, especially in the first half. Unfortunately, couldn't finish it off in the second half against Sacramento.
So it's funny that you talk about the Mavericks losing, the first time losing back-to-back games and how this team, hasn't really been doing that. I was kind of curious. I went back and I looked at the very first game Dallas played in this calendar year, in 2024. It was a 37-point blowout to the Utah Jazz with Luka and Kyrie both available.
Ooh, I remember that game very well.
Yeah.
That's how we started this godforsaken. Sorry.
So this is not. Excuse me. This is not an attempt to draw a silver lining I don't think that there's really any silver lining to draw this game. It was a scripted, scheduled loss that went about as you would expect based off the script and the schedule, and that's a bummer. The team keeps dropping games. They don't have the right players involved, but we know that from January 1st to December 31st, this roster has completely turned over, and it's turned over in ways that really stand out in terms of what the players around Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are capable of doing. And they were capable of putting together a competent offense for 2.5, maybe 3.5 quarters, or 1.5, 2.5 quarters, and then it finally really broke down. I have a couple quick thoughts here in a second about how the game actually went, but it does really stand out to me that this team does not get blown out. The biggest loss was they did lose by 20-something to the Clippers, another shorthanded game. But for the most part, even when Luka and Kyrie miss, this is not a team, because of the way it's built, because of the way the roster has changed, it does really stand out to me that even when you're going, even when you're missing 4 or 5 starters, 2 more rotation players, you're playing your third game in 4 nights, Dallas is still up for a ton of this game. And you can say everything about Sacramento and how bad they are and the reasons Dallas lost. We'll get to that. So I have a few thoughts on that. But it really does stand out how much this team is different than the teams of past that would have been totally lost, were totally lost constantly anytime they didn't have their star guards out there, and specifically Luka. So I just wanted to highlight that first and say, this was at least a commendable effort. But even more than that, it was once again showcasing how different, how much better, how much more talent is on this roster, and how Dallas has specifically tried to build it in that way. This was not a 37-point loss without, with Luka and Kyrie in the starting lineup. That is something that happened this calendar year, and it's just a very different team these days.
It was the first game of the year. We opened the way we close. Disappointed.
Yeah, with a disappointing loss. But to that point, Tim,
I'll say sort.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say, based off of what this team is and the way they competed tonight, I'm very comfortable saying, and I would imagine both the gentlemen would agree with me too, is that comfortably this is a top 7 team in the league, maybe top 5 team in the league when they're fully healthy.
Not 5, dude.
No, I'm saying between Boston, Cleveland, Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and that's it.
I said top 5, top 7. I really said top 7.
Top 2. And they ain't 2. Just kidding.
I would agree with Bobby that if you really made me, if you really pushed me on this one, I would eventually come up with 3 teams that are conceivably better than them. If you really push me on it, that I am in complete agreement.
Not top 5, top
Bobby.
4.
My point is,
shame this man.
My point is, objectively, this is one of the top teams in the league when they're fully healthy. And what they saw last night against Portland with Kyrie dropping 46 with a shorthanded group, them competing tonight against a fully healthy Sacramento Kings team with virtually nobody to speak of in terms of real starters on this team. When this team is going to be healthy and when they do finally get there, this is a really, really talented team. And I think a lot of us want to see that full team come together for a long stretch of time to be able to have the kind of run that we believe this team is capable of.
It's exactly that. This team keeps showing us, even shorthanded, that they're the team we think they are, but it's not fun. There's nothing enjoyable about, it's weird. It was weird and kind of quirky for a couple quarters to watch players, try to play a little bit outside of their roles. Although functionally, it just ended up, really the only player who did that was, you got to see the 2-way guards and you got to see PJ Washington, really take a number 1 scoring option mindset into the game. That was also fun. The reason that PJ Washington is such an important, such a good player for this team is that he does, he could be on a worse team scaling up into a bigger role. The reason he's so good and important is that what Dallas asks of him when the team is fully healthy is to scale down, and you get, a condensed, even, more impactful, more efficient version of himself. Those are cool things to see, but ultimately it's not enjoyable to keep watching this team, not be the whole sum of its parts, even if these games keep proving to me, in my eyes, what I'm seeing. They keep proving what we think big picture about this team. And I think even for fans, another aspect of it is they want this Dallas team to get respect. They don't feel like enough people are talking about them. If you go on any national NBA podcast, nobody is saying Dallas. If you ask what are the top 4 teams in the league, nobody's saying Dallas. Maybe a few people are starting to eye them. Certainly some, a few of the very smart basketball podcasts I listen to have, noted how they're, noted how good they've been and what their advanced, numbers and metrics say. But I get it. I get it. This is not fun. This is not proving anything. This is not advancing the conversation. This is not advancing the team's, just overall, ability to be a potential top 4 team in the NBA. So it's both things can be true, and as especially as focused as we are on the fan perspective, but also as analysts, like we're not learning new things about how good Dallas is. They just keep reminding us they are this good, and we keep waiting for that very good version of the team so we can learn more about that very good version. So I get all of that. I also have some thoughts on Gafford. I heard you guys talking about him.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure there wasn't anything to add in there.
We will not object to you filling time.
Where this team really changed, where Sacramento won it, is that they played Trey Lyles, a stretch 5 at center. Trey Lyles was plus 31. Domantas Sabonis was minus 6. Again, I'm really hesitant to use plus minus on-off numbers, individual game plus minus numbers. But the one time where I think it has some accuracy when it matches the eye test is a center platoon. Almost most certainly like a center platoon or maybe a point guard platoon. And in this case, Lyles ended up benching Sabonis for long stretches. And when we talk about Gafford, and when Bobby, you say he's not playing deep into a playoff run, the reason is that he cannot, at any point, he has proven repeatedly that he cannot be on the floor when there's a stretch 5. He cannot guard the rim and get out to shooters. That is how Sacramento broke the game open.
And it doesn't mean he sucks. This is just
right.
What happens.
Yeah.
Sabonis probably can't either, to be honest.
Right. But in most, it's weird, but like he was doing much better when Sabonis was out there on the court, when he had a more like-minded player to kind of play against. And then all of a sudden when it does become this, a solid rotation backup for them, but that's the guy who broke the game open. I don't know. It just once again kind of showed a weakness of Gafford. And I think that's something, I think the defensive rebounding is it's absolutely real, in the sense that he is not a, for his athleticism, for his size, for the power he plays with, you would think he's a better defensive rebounder. But to me, the real deficit that was shown again was just the inability to guard, whenever a team goes 5 out on him. And that was, genuinely the difference in the game, to me. That was the thing that changed everything. And that's when Sacramento really ran away with it, because Dallas just couldn't compete with that.
Luke in the chat says, does that raise the question that the Mavs need a stretch 5? I would say, yeah. I mean, honestly, the truth is every team needs one. Every team wants one, but there aren't a lot of credibly good ones. And unfortunately, a couple of them both play for the Celtics, which is a big issue for everybody else in the league. But, the Mavs ideally would have at least a defensive mode they can go in against those kinds of teams. In recent years past, that would just be Maxey at the 5. I don't know if that's tenable for the regular season, just because you have to keep that guy's minutes down and hope that he clicks in the playoffs. But another alternative would be PJ at the 5 with Najee at the 4 and Luka, and you kind of go small ball. But a lot of those guys aren't available.
Yeah.
So it's if there but again, there's just not many guys that can do that. One of them that could have been available on the trade market just fractured his finger, and he's having surgery. So it's it's slim pickings out there.
Wait, who was that?
Ooh. That fractured his finger? Larry Nance.
Yeah. Oh, Larry Nance did? Okay. That was I must have missed that somehow. But
metacarpal that's a finger, right? Metacarpal?
That's the name. That's the name that seems like, okay, it's a backup big, but are any of us absolutely convinced that Larry Nance is playing, real minutes for Dallas against the Celtics, against the I think there's a better chance than some of the names that I've heard. But I
don't think that's some season-changing upgrade or anything. I was just saying that as a
Right.
name because it's topical.
Right.
Anything else for me, Tim, before we let you go here?
I think that's the main stuff I wanted to get through. I thought, the one other thing about this game that made it look really good early on and made it look really bad in the second half was, and nobody likes to hear this, it's an unfortunate, or it's an undeniable reality of the NBA. Shooting variants went their way in the first half. Shooting variants did not go their way in the second half. They made a bunch of threes. Sacramento did not. If that had been flipped the other way around, this would have been at least a much more certain loss throughout, and maybe a slightly less aggravating one. But yeah, that's how NBA games go. So it was always going to be a scripted loss, and the fact that Dallas made a bunch of threes early on and Sacramento was just having a hell of a time of it in the worst possible way, certainly impacted the perception of this game. But I think the game played out exactly as about as we expected. And to me, it is a testament to this roster, the improved roster and the talent around it, that it was only a 10-point game. And I do think that was a fair score, something around there. But that's that's what happens when you're missing 4 of your 5 starters.
I have a question for Tim Cato.
Can we do it on the other side
Mark
of the break?
Stein.
He's staying?
You want to stay for the other side of the break?
I can.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really late.
Yeah, let's take our break here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. More with Tim Cato coming up next, and I'm interested to hear this question that Stein's got.
It's not that exciting. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll dive into that coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show.
Empire Today floors, baby. If there's one thing that we love here at DLLS Sports, it's flooring.
It is flooring.
From our friends at Empire Today, they keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Their philosophy is to help find you what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of options and a bunch of stuff that's a bunch of like bells and whistles and some nonsense. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect style. You can schedule a free in-home estimate today, just in time for the new year. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Again, that is promo code DLLS. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details. Y'all know the jingle, 800-588-2300.
Empire
Today.
Let me talk to you about Rugged Road Coolers. I got one right here next to me here on set. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the very best. Our products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions, whether you're on land or water. Rugged Road is built to accompany you on every adventure. Durable, they've got lightweight design as well. Unlike other heavy-duty coolers, Rugged Road coolers are incredibly light, making them easy to transport on any trip without compromising on performance. You might need one because it's New Year's Eve. You might need to carry around those cold drinks for you at your next party. They're perfect for a variety of outdoor activities as well, from fishing to tubing to camping to tailgating. These coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor or sports enthusiast. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. Reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code DLLS for 10% off. Again, ruggedroadoutdoors.com. Use code DLLS for 10% off today. As we bring back in our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, joining us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show after the Mavericks fall 110-100 to the Sacramento Kings for their second straight road loss. They'll be back on the road for their next road game on Wednesday, on New Year's Day, when they take on the Houston Rockets. Who knows who will be available for Houston after Amen Thompson and Tyler Hero decided to get into it in the game last night. But we do have our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, who is with us as well. And before we went to break, our guy Stein had a question for
yeah,
Tim Cato.
Really, I was just curious, besides getting away from us, what Tim Cato's New Year's Eve plans were. That's really
important. Yeah, there you go.
That was really it.
Okay, there you go.
Well, now we have an entire third segment to talk about it.
You don't have to stay for the whole. You don't have to stay for the whole third segment. You can just tell us and
Okay.
start the revelry if you want.
Well, I will be back in Dallas tomorrow, so can't stay away too long. But, here's the thing about the NBA. They play games on Christmas. So I didn't go visit my parents on Christmas. They played a home game 2 days before that. So I didn't really go down on Christmas Eve. They don't live that far away, about 2.5 hours. But long enough that, it doesn't really make sense to go for just 24 hours. It doesn't, be great to stay a little bit longer than 48 hours. But yeah, I am sorting through my plans right now. Have a couple party invites, kind of weighing the options. We're seeing what else is available on the trade deadline.
We might need some second sourcing on that, actually.
Hopefully your friends that invited you to come over to their house aren't hearing you say, yeah, I'm exploring my options, seeing if anything better comes along.
I don't know. I don't think
you don't
you want the chat to believe that you have multiple party invites. Is that what you're saying?
One of them is from a former editor of mine. So I was weighing whether he's watching this, but after thinking about it, no, he's definitely not. Also, who in their right mind is watching at 12? I love everybody in the chat. I love everybody watching. Who in their right mind is watching at 12:20 after
130 very loyal people.
That's right, damn it. Like, relax.
Yeah, I said
some of them are even on your side here.
It's true.
Ardell's not too thrilled with me right now, but the rest, I think, are on our side.
But yeah, the other one would be a high school friend of mine. So
okay. Well, Son, you got options. Son, you got options. Before we let you go, any New Year's resolutions for Tim Cato? Does he do New Year's resolutions?
Well, it's to be in studio every time with you guys because I miss y'all.
Well, that's a lie because you're not here right now. So
it's to never watch a basketball game where 4 of the 5 starters are injured.
That's brave.
That's bold, isn't it? Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, we'll let you go and enjoy the time with your family. We appreciate you stopping down with us here on the podcast.
It wasn't such a bad game that I had to break out the kitten.
Oh, yeah. You were supposed to break out remember you said you might break out the kitten from the pregame show.
My parents have
at halftime I had to record it.
I would apologize.
My parents have a 7-month-old kitten.
I would apologize for making you stay an extra few minutes into the next segment, but you did get to hear them do that wonderfully poetic Empire read together. So it wasn't a total loss for you.
I would have felt empty going into the new year if I hadn't been there for that. So
all right, Cato, get out of here. Get out of here. Thank you so much for your report.
See you guys in a couple days. Happy New Year.
All right, we'll see you. That's our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. You can find him on X at Tim_Cato.
I have some history real quick. Can I say it?
No, son, go ahead.
Oh, I can't. Yeah. All right. So the Mavs offensive rebound rate tonight,
the 4.8%,
yes, is their second lowest in franchise history.
Golly.
Their only lower offensive rebound rate game came on April 1st, 2023 in a loss to Miami. That was also a night when a bunch of guys were out. That night, Tim Hardaway went on a pretty epic heater, though. He had 31 points. The Mavs' big man rotation that night was Dwight, Maxey, Christian Wood, and that's it.
We snuck in a Christian Wood reference before the end of 2024. How about that?
And so that night their offensive rebound rate was 3.7%. So this is a pretty historically low performance.
A full percentage point
not
lower?
The worst. Not the worst. Just the second worst.
THG had 31 that night?
Yep.
Did they win that game?
Luka had 42. No, they lost 129-122. That actually famously is the only time in the last 6+ years at my last 6+ years with the Mavs that I wrote the gamer.
Oh, really?
Yep.
You had the pleasure.
In fact, I never even wrote a gamer whenever I was writing.
Did you guys see Soren from Estonia's here even after that Mavs?
Let's go, Soren.
Even after that second half in Sacramento.
By the way, happy New Year's Eve. It is New Year's Eve officially.
We did it.
We did it. We got to New Year's Eve. We're just
LeBron James is 40 in one day.
He is 40 in one day. We'll get some more perspective on that coming up here in just a little bit. But yeah, happy New Year's Eve to those who are that much closer. I saw Luke, who's in Australia. He's like 6.5 hours away from New Year's Day, so that much closer when it comes to New Year's. Real quick, the turning point in this game, and look, again, the Mavericks, who did not have
Ronedius is also in here from Estonia too.
Who
should
is?
not go without mentioning Ronedius.
Oh, shout out to Ronedius.
What a legacy Martin Mursep created. We just have masses from Estonia who are Mavs fans.
No, we got a lot of Mavs fans from all over the world. Mavericks saw the Kings go on what was a 25-3 run. Look, the Mavericks are actually up by 8, 75-67 with 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter. The Kings proceeded to go on what was a 25-3 run from the 4:35 mark of the third quarter to the 9-minute mark of the fourth quarter to lead 92-78, and it was pretty much over from there. Like, we were kind of waiting to see if the Mavericks could hang on. And unfortunately, I guess why I bring that up, because the way that the Mavericks were able to play well in the first half offensively, it went completely the opposite direction in the last 4.5 minutes of that third quarter. Turnovers continuously killed that team in the Mavericks as far as that portion of the game was concerned. I thought that was the more disappointing part of that portion of the game, was that you could have held on to it a little bit more, but you just kept turning the ball over way too much of that.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's Hardy and it's Gortman and it's Brandon Williams and it's a bunch of guys that barely play, if at all, handling the ball. The crowd's starting to get into it, and the Kings started ramping up the pressure a bit. Even PJ turned it over. Like, it was bad. This is bad. Dinwiddie threw it right between the wickets on Gafford. And I've already seen it. I know there's people in the chat that are about to say it. Why didn't J-Kid call a timeout? First off, a lot of that happened in the last minute of the quarter.
Yeah.
No coach is ever going to call a timeout in the final minute of a quarter. You're just not going to do it. But also, if you think that a timeout would magically teach Jaden Hardy, Brandon Williams, and Jays Gortman how to run an NBA offense on the road, then, buddy, I got a lake house in Idaho. I got a lake house in Louisville. I got a lake house in Topeka, Kansas. I got beachfront property in Nashville, Tennessee that I can sell you right now. It's a great deal. Get in before the new year.
You've got New Year's Eve party invites with Tim Cato to sell.
Right. I like this version of Stein. Like, it's so understated.
Dude,
the sarcasm is so understated, but it comes out. The comedic timing of a Stein sarcasm off the top rope is just fantastic. I love that. I
don't have a lot else working for me at this point, guys. I mean,
I want more of that in 2025.
I'm struggling.
That's my New Year's resolution for this show. I want more of that in 2025.
He called multiple. First off, it's me, Mario. The starters are back in the game whenever he was calling those. He also called timeouts to make subs, and there's obligatory media timeouts too. So there's a lot of reasons why he called timeouts. And
again, and to Bobby's point, from earlier, like, I'm not gonna get too bent out of shape about a game like this. I think, again, the frustration from Mavericks fans who watched this game tonight thought, oh man, you had an 18-point lead. PJ's playing well in the first half. You scored 60 points on the Sacramento Kings. You had an 8-point lead with 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Maybe you could sneak one of this game out, but based off of who was and who wasn't available, this was probably going to be the outcome. I think it says
it would have been so much better off falling down by 19.
I'd rather
making a comeback, making it scrappy, and losing that way. They lost in the worst possible fashion. At 8:56 p.m. tonight, Dallas time, not a soul in Mavs land thought there was any chance of them winning this game. And then they had the temerity to take an 18, 19-point lead, whatever it was. That was the issue.
And then you showed up at studio.
I showed up in studio when it was 75-66.
That's right.
And Sacramento. That was the turning point of the game when the Kings proceeded to uncork a 25-3 run, I think it was.
That's right. And that's where we are.
That was the turning point.
That was
Mark Stein showing up to work.
That's right. Coming into the studio. And it was like, oh, well, I guess it's time to smoke
Skated in all my Sabres gear. Looking for Ludwig. Didn't find Ludwig. No one from the Star Squad is here.
You can find him later on this week.
No, I'll be hiding from him.
With a beer in his hand, probably.
Rahim saying hi from Turkey. Hello.
Dude,
let's go.
Yes, let us know if you're watching, wherever you're watching from, home or abroad.
I was waiting.
Liven up this show. Let us know. Makes us feel good when we realize the incredible reach and scope of DLLS Mavs.
It is awesome. Basketball is such a global game.
Two Estonians. Nobody would have predicted that watching the show.
No.
when we hit
our Estonian viewer rate is almost higher than the Mavs offensive rebound rate from tonight's game. You can believe that.
Let's take our final break here on the DLLS
rack that one,
Mavs
Tanner. Rack that one.
Post-game show. When we come back, we'll dial up the Steinline with our national NBA insider, Mark Stein. Trade has gone down, and LeBron turns 40 years old, and we've got some perspective on some of that and more coming up next on the DLLS Mavs Post-game show.
But first, you know what time it is.
Game time?
Oh, no.
My bad.
Physical diehard card time?
That's right. It's physical diehard card time.
Merch, baby.
You scan that QR code. You click the link in the description below. You go to alldls.com/diehard.
It's that kind of night, Tanner.
Less than $7 a month. You can ring in the new year by becoming a diehard, which is the best way to show support for what we're doing here at DLLS Sports. Whenever you do that, it's less than $7 a month. Like I said, USD. You get a free shirt when you sign up. You get a discount on any other merch gear that you want. All of our stuff is really cool. KG is wearing the one with our pod logo on, and I think that's a pretty nice shirt myself, unbiased. You also get to read the entire website, all the premium written content. You get to join the DLLS Discord. Probably a pretty bleak place tonight, except for the music channel where we're all sharing our favorite albums that we listened to in 2024. You also get your physical diehard card. You get a discount on events. We got one of those coming up. And also, I want to take this time to announce we're going to have, I'm sure it's probably going to get out on the internet anyway, but we are going to have, I've been bombarded with questions about this. I'm very delighted to announce Jeff Kavanaugh is in as well. Whenever it's the Unova Tour time in Pokemon Go, we are going to meet up for the Global Unova Tour.
What?
At a top place to play Pokemon Go in the Metroplex, and we are going to go catch some Pokemon. We're going to raid. It's going to be awesome. That is going to be a diehard meetup, and I'm sure other people show up too.
I thought I was going to announce the watch along. I was like, what is happening here?
Oh yeah, we're doing a watch along on Wednesday too. But first things first.
That would be ideal to talk
Global
about.
Unova Tour.
Jeez.
Book it. That's late February. We will be hanging out. Mark, I know you'll be there.
For what?
The Global Unova Tour in Pokemon Go.
Oh my gosh!
I don't even know what you are like. You might as well be speaking Estonian because I didn't understand. Like you just started talking and I was just like, I'm out.
Well, you can become a diehard today.
AllDLLS.com, become a diehard member, and yes, join us for our watch along on Wednesday when the Mavericks
physical diehard card.
Physical diehard card, Mark. That's right. Tag us on social media. Let us know you're part of our DLLS sports family. That's my bit. You're taking my bit.
I've wanted a physical diehard card since the day I joined this operation.
Well, sounds
you
like
still have the only hat.
You do have the only hat.
I'm not
here.
crying for you, man. I'm crying for myself. I had no hat and no card.
You can go talk to your buddy GM Ben about a physical diehard card. How about that? That's right.
Don't get us started at this hour.
As we finish up here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show, unfortunately, the Mavericks fall 110-100 to the Sacramento Kings. No Kyrie, no Clay, no Lively. A bunch of dudes out. PJ Washington had 28 points. Spencer Dinwiddie had 30 points. But it was not enough on this night as the Kings overcome what was an 18-point deficit to win tonight. They had 5 guys in double figures, including De'Aaron Fox, who had 33 points as they break a 6-game losing streak, capping off what has been a tumultuous few days for them. Firing Mike Brown a couple of days ago. They lose to the Los Angeles Lakers, which we'll get to here in a second. But then they get the win tonight over the Dallas Mavericks. As we dial up the Steinline here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show, obviously, as we get ready to turn the calendar from 2024 to 2025, an annual thing that we talk about every year at this time of the year because his birthday is, December 30th every year. LeBron James turning 40, and of course, in his 22nd season in the league. And, kind of interesting to see that LeBron, of course, is still playing in his prime, but obviously something that the league is obviously celebrating because of the career that he's had thus far.
I mean, it's ridiculous that he's 40 years old. There's only been 32 40-year-olds in NBA history. And even that number, you have to add in Tim Duncan and Danny Shays, who both turned 40 in the playoffs. Neither of those guys played a regular season game at 40. So it's a very small club, and just for LeBron to not just make it to age 40, but still playing, obviously, at a really high level. We'll see him in Dallas next week. Lakers are here a week from. Is today Monday or Tuesday?
It'll be January the 7th.
Yeah, so a week from tomorrow. So, I mean, 40 years old, 40,000 points, and kind of my stock line today is I feel incredibly fortunate just from a purely selfish perspective. I got to cover his very first game at Sacramento, October 29th, 2003.
wow.
Look at that picture.
Wow.
There I am in the middle of the scrum. I believe that is the pregame media scrum. I mean, LeBron looks so young in that picture.
Who's that behind you, by the way?
That is the right over my left shoulder is the famed great USA Today writer Oscar Dixon.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Mary Schmidt Boyer is right in front of me. She was the Cleveland Plain Dealer beat writer at the time, if my memory is correct. And man, I look a lot younger and a lot better.
What were you covering that for? The
I was
morning
covering
news
that.
or for ESPN?
That was for ESPN. That was actually my second year at ESPN.
Okay.
And like the Kings still had all of their stars from their best teams.
That team
early
beat the Mavs in the
2000s.
playoffs. The 03-04 Kings knocked the Mavs
And
out first round.
I remember after that game going to both Vlade Divac and Peja Stojakovic after the game, and they were like, that 18-year-old, he was the best player on the floor. Like, they were just, like, in his first game at Sacramento. In those days, Sacramento was pretty much the toughest place you could go to.
Arco Arena.
I mean, it was loud, and their crowd was circus noise, just crazy noise. And LeBron at 18 was the best player on the floor.
25 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 steals.
Jeez. In fact, his first bucket of his career was a steal and a dunk.
And it's like I said, I feel tremendously fortunate that I was there, and
or one of his first
40
baskets,
times
anyway.
more grateful that I'm still covering the league. So it's been, I mean, and that thing, he could play another 1, 2, 3 years. I mean, he's going to decide how long it is.
He said today that, or I guess technically yesterday now, that if he wanted to, he could play another 5 to 7 years in his prime, which I'm thinking, oh boy, that's a lot. But at the same time, I guess it just speaks to how well he feels like he can still play at the stage in his career, and that he will definitely decide his own fate when it comes to him retiring. Before we move on to the trade real quick, I wanted to ask you, because you were obviously there covering his game, the unprecedented hype around him as a 17, 18-year-old at St. Vincent St. Mary, and you obviously being there covering his first game. Can you kind of just take us back down memory lane real quick and just kind of remind folks who may not have obviously understood what kind of hype was surrounding James as he was coming into
The most hype ever.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about Wemby's hype, but I mean, LeBron's hype, I don't think anybody could match it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I can remember.
Being on the cover of Sports Illustrated at the time, it was kind of nuts too, seeing him grace the cover as a high schooler with St. Vincent St. Mary. Speaking of the Lakers, we're starting to see trade action go down over the weekend. We saw.
No.
Yeah.
No!
I know Bobby don't want to talk about it. The last time we
Literally
got together,
the worst.
we thought that maybe Dorian Finney-Smith was.
Small.
Oh my God!
Oh, wait, is he?
Oh my God!
Oh wow!
Oh my God! It's happening.
Is this happening for
Wait
the first time ever?
Tanner,
Yeah, crossover.
Did you hook him up with the wireless
This
mic
is
so we can hear what he's
amazing.
saying? Okay.
I'll get right on that.
Okay.
Oh wow! This is happening now. Now we got to hold our
His
phones.
face lit up.
His face did light up. So do we have to have our phones out now?
All right. So the Mavs are trading for LeBron. I just
What?
heard him say
Wait a minute.
the Mavs are. He said the Mavs are getting the birthday boy.
That's the birthday boy.
Yeah. So all right. So LeBron is a Mav per Stein.
Do not do that.
Well,
Do not do that.
he's not even here.
He's literally right over there.
Oh, I thought he left.
So we have like our phones out now, so like to see when it like live like pops up on our feed on what he tweets out. here.
Ardell asks, Stein cut a loud fart? What's happening? No, it's not a euphemism. He is literally on the phone with someone.
I don't really like. We might get some news here from Mark Stein. This is so exciting. I can't wait to see what happens here. Probably more exciting than what just happened in the basketball game.
I mean, that's a low bar. That's an extremely low bar.
So let's talk about.
If it's someone calling him saying like, "Here's our dinner plan for tomorrow," that is much more exciting.
That's right. It's true. So let's talk about something exciting real quick while Stein, figures out what's going on here. Best of 2024. It's been a hell of a year for your Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks got back to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2011, of course, unfortunately falling to the Celtics in 5 games in the NBA Finals. But the journey that they went on to get there, Bobby, was an incredible one. You had the trade that saw P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford come to this team. They went 16-2 in their last 18 meaningful games. They go through the Clippers. They go through the Thunder, who were the number 1 seed in the West, and they take out Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves to get to the NBA Finals. But some incredible moments along the way in journey and what was an incredible 2024 for the Mavericks.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean,
do you have a favorite moment from the past calendar year for Dallas?
I think my favorite moment. Ooh, that's tough, man. I think my favorite moment from 2024. That's tough. Probably beating Minnesota, winning Game 5 in Minnesota. There's like personal stuff behind it, but like professionally it was huge. I was still working for the Mavs at the time, so it was great. The post game that night was awesome. I watched that game with Isaac and with Chopper, and I think there were a couple of Mavs employees that were in and out that night, and like it was just a lot of fun, to spend that moment together. And it was very special. Like it's just special,
Sure.
Winning anything, and even it's the West, it's not the NBA title or whatever, but like winning anything is just such a cool achievement. And I guess like in a roundabout way, I was a part of it because I was employed by the team. That's one. The comeback against Houston was really cool. That also coincided with some other stuff going on in my personal life at the time. I don't know. It's like for me, because basketball's been such a part of my life for literally my entire life. All of these things like happen. They're sort of like inextricably linked with my personal life and basketball, and it all kind of like, I don't know. It's really weird. It's hard to explain. But yeah, there's just always like anytime anything really cool is happening with the Mavs, there's always like some really like memorable stuff in my life and vice versa. I don't know. Anyway, not to make it about me. Those 2 things probably. What about yours?
Oh man. So mid-March, Kyrie Irving hitting what was one of the best shots of the entire NBA season. I mean, the lefty 20-foot shot that he had over the outstretched arms of Nikola Jokic is still one of the most incredible shots that I've ever seen, and capping off what was a highly competitive game and a really fun game on a Sunday afternoon. I remember that on Sunday afternoon, and Kyrie just lining up the scoreboard in the entire arena. I can still see him just running out with that left hand, just looking at it. Just an epic shot there. And of course, you mentioned the other one for me. Dante Exum hitting that 3-pointer to send the game into overtime in what was an entertaining game. There was so many ebbs and flows back and forth. Luke and Kyrie embracing each other after that overtime win in the middle of the floor, basically just collapsing into each other's arms and walking, arm in arm, brother to brother to the half court, and their teammates meeting them there. That was one of the first times I felt like, okay, this is something special is going on with this group. I don't know how far they're necessarily going to take it, but there's something special about this group. And that was kind of one of the first times I thought, okay, like we might need to get on this ride, because that was a hell of a game that day. And Exum hitting that 3-pointer. But
it was a great game and a great comeback.
It was a great game, amazing comeback.
The fourth quarter of Game 6 at home against the Clippers, was the first closeout game of the playoffs. The Mavs obviously won. Kyrie had an unbelievable fourth quarter, just hit a bunch of really, really tough shots. One of my friends was at the game, and he was sitting like in the section that was right in front of the press box, and so I was like, we were kind of making eye contact, like, oh my, can you believe this?
Yeah.
Like, oh my, can you see what this guy's doing? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it was, and it just really felt like this team has some sort of, they have like the it factor. And then the very next round, Game 6 at home against OKC, still wearing the black jerseys. In that game, they make a huge comeback. I went down at halftime. The Mavs are down big. They're down like 15 or 18 at halftime or whatever. And Isaac and I went down. John Charks' wife was at the game, and so we went down and talked with her for a little while. And the last time that I saw her at a Mavs game was the night Luka scored 60. Well, that night they make the big comeback. It was just like, it was really, really cool. Mavs make a comeback. PJ makes the free throws.
Just cross
Mavs
the camera.
win and standing on business. Like it was great. It was great. 24. I mean, that was just, it was so cool. Everything about that run was so cool.
We appreciate our television audience for joining us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports on the way out the door, and also download and subscribe to our podcast as well. And again, we appreciate you joining us here as the Mavericks unfortunately fall 110 to 100 to the
Not
Sacramento
Mavs related.
Kings.
Sorry for
Oh
your hopes
no!
up.
So they're
Sorry,
not
sorry.
getting LeBron.
As we continue here
it
on
does not appear so.
on our post-game show here on DLLS Sports, we had a moment where Mark Stein had to leave the set to go do some sourcing and reporting. So he's back now. We were talking about, real quick before we get out of here, Mark, the best of 2024, the best moments of the year when it came to the Mavericks, or just in the NBA in general, through what was an incredible calendar year for the association, obviously with the Mavericks making the NBA Finals, and a lot of other things happening.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a full piece coming tomorrow on my Substack that covers all that kind of stuff, and I don't want to give too much of it away, but just, I guess, selfishly speaking, for me, like, obviously that playoff run is ridiculous. 3 playoff series without home court advantage, beating 350-win teams, only the franchise's 3rd trip ever to the finals, all amazing. But you also have to say, well, you don't have to say, but I mean, for me personally, I got to do a couple games on radio, which was an incredible first for me. I got to go to Slovenia for the first time. So a very eventful 2024 that I don't think anybody wants to think about tonight.
Got to share those moments with you, actually, your first time doing games on radio.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
You did well. You did great that night. I told you that.
Great might be stretching.
You did very well
But
that night.
thank you. I will take it.
What are your favorite moments from the 2024 calendar year? I think I see some in there. I think somebody had the standing on business, the iconic moment with PJ Washington, of course, stepping across half court, looking at the Clippers bench. Was there some other ones, Tanner, that were in there that we saw? No, maybe not. Okay, that's okay. No problem. But continue to throw those in there if you have some. But
It's really fun, like playoff runs. It's such like pandemonium and it's feelings of immortality and complete and utter despair and like everything in between.
the ebbs and flows of a playoff run is just
It's just so much
insane.
fun, and it's like it again. And I was joking earlier when I said I want to sim to end and just get to the playoffs. Like the whole point of the journey is to get you ready for the playoffs, and then you're like kind of it's just, I don't know. But the playoffs are great. Playoffs are awesome. They are awesome. No matter what, whether you win or lose, the playoffs are so freaking cool. It's cool to hate the other team. It's cool to love your guys. The fights and the trash talk and the coaches getting fined for press conferences and like when is Tony Brothers officiating the next game? Like it's all so awesome.
Oh my gosh.
And I can't wait. I can't wait for it again. There will be games like this. The Mavs are probably going to lose 25 or 30 games this season, and they might lose even more than that. There's going to be some ugly ones. Tonight was an ugly one. So we can't have a complete and utter collapse every time it happens because it's going to happen a lot. But I mean the playoffs are just the playoffs are so much fun. They're just so much fun. The best sports memories of my life are NBA playoff games. Every single one of them.
And I'll mention this last one before we go because we can't forget it. Lukadoncic's 73-point game against Atlanta.
It's where the whole thing started. The whole second half turnaround started.
I didn't go to sleep for like another hour or two after that game was over. After I got home because I was just like I couldn't believe what I watched that night.
I never go to sleep for an hour or two after I get home, even from this.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just buzzing from a game, just thinking about everything.
That night I couldn't because I just kept thinking in my mind, I was like, did I really just see a 73-point game from somebody? Like it was insane.
Follow always says like call your friends whenever Luka.
No, really, I was tweeting. I was like, hey, if you're not watching, get to a television.
Yeah, no,
now.
I called my dad. I think my dad might have been at work or something. I don't know. My dad wasn't watching the game, and I was like, dude, you have to.
Yes,
you have to. I think he was working, so I was texting him updates, and I was like, I called him when he's like 45 or something.
Yeah,
and then like 5 minutes later, he was at 61, and my dad was like, shut the up, like he's like cussing me out, like dude, turn it on,
like, please
like,
watch
turn
this
it
game.
on.
It's happening right now.
You have to watch this.
That was an incredible night in late January. But we'll be back here on Wednesday, New Year's Day, as the Dallas Mavericks take on the Houston Rockets. Not a 9 p.m. start time.
We're gonna watch along. We're gonna do a watch along. So we will be streaming. You can stream us watching the game. We will not show you the game. We will try and show you the score. We'll figure that out whenever we get there, but we will be doing a watch along. hey, the last time we did a watch along was probably the worst game of the season.
Oh, man, because I was at Oklahoma City game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can't get any worse than that. It will only be better. And we will be doing that live from right here, I think.
Right here?
Maybe from in there. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Who knows who the Rockets will have available, because Amen Thompson will probably be suspended by the time we get to that game.
Again, if the entire organization isn't suspended, we protest. We demonstrate in the streets of New York. Where's the league office? It's in Manhattan, right?
Yes, it is. Fifth Avenue. Not Fifth Avenue. Olympic Tower.
In or around Olympic Tower, we demonstrate. Whenever those cowards finally announce the suspensions, be ready to ride.
Our pregame show will begin at 6:30 p.m. here on DLLS Sports on New Year's Day. So join us here as we get you ready for the Mavericks taking on the Houston Rockets. Hopefully a much more fully formed Mavericks team by the time we get to New Year's Day. Again, our pregame show will begin at 6:30 with our watch along beginning immediately after the pregame show right here on DLLS Sports. I appreciate all of you joining us here on our program. For our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, our national NBA insider Mark Stein, our Mavericks analyst Bobby Curl. I'm your host Kevin Gray. Appreciate you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Unfortunately, the Mavericks fall 110-100 to the Kings. We'll talk to you on Wednesday on New Year's Day. Happy New Year from us here at DLLS Sports. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.